In the shadowed valleys of the Appalachian Mountains, where mist clung to ancient pines like forgotten secrets, lay the town of Hollow's End. It was a place time had abandoned, its clapboard houses sagging under the weight of decades, and its people etched with lines of quiet desperation. Coal mines had once breathed life into the earth here, but now they were tombs, sealed after the great collapse of 47 that claimed 112 souls. The survivors whispered of curses, of voices echoing from the depths, but progress demanded silence. The mines were capped, the dead buried, and the living moved on, or tried to. Alara Voss arrived in Hollow's End on a rain-slicked autumn evening, her pickup truck rattling over potholed roads. She was a geologist, hired by a faceless corporation to survey the old shafts for natural gas. "Fracking's the future," her boss had said over the phone, his voice tinny and indifferent. Alara didn't care about futures. She cared about paychecks. Her own past was a wreckage. Divorce, addiction, a daughter she'd lost custody of. Hollow's End was just another gig, a chance to bury herself in work. The townsfolk greeted her with wary eyes. At the diner, where grease hung heavy in the air, old man Harland sipped black coffee and muttered, "Some things best left buried, missy." His hands trembled, scarred from years underground. Alara smiled politely, ordering pie she wouldn't eat. That night, in her rented cabin on the outskirts, she pored over maps by lantern light. The power grid here was fickle, prone to outages from storms that rolled in like judgments. Her first descent was into shaft number 3, a yawning maw boarded up since the disaster. With her team, 2 burly locals named Jeb and Silas, she pried away the planks, the wood splintering like brittle bones. The air inside was stale, laced with methane's faint sweetness. Headlamps pierced the gloom as they rappelled down, Alara's heart pounding in rhythm with the drip-drip of water from unseen cracks. At 200 feet, they hit the main chamber. Rubble strewn like giants' dice, pickaxes rusted into relics. But something was off. The walls glistened not with moisture, but with a viscous slime that pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. "What the hell?" Jeb whispered, his voice echoing unnaturally. Silas crossed himself, murmuring prayers. Alara knelt, scraping a sample into a vial. It was warm to the touch, alive almost. That night, the dreams came. Alara twisted in sweat-soaked sheets, visions of the collapse. Men screaming as timbers buckled, earth swallowing them whole. But in her dream, they didn't die. They changed. Bodies contorting, skin splitting to reveal something other, eyes glowing with accusatory light. She woke gasping. The cabin plunged into darkness. Outside, wind howled like laughter. The next day, Jeb didn't show. Silas arrived pale, saying Jeb had ranted about the echoes calling his sins. By noon, they found him in his trailer, throat slashed with his own mining knife. No note, just blood-smeared walls scrawled with "Forgive me" over and over. The sheriff, a grizzled woman named Reyes, ruled it suicide. "Folks here carry heavy loads," she said, her eyes avoiding Alara's. But Alara knew better. She'd seen the slime on Jeb's hands, the same from the mine. Whispers spread through Hollow's End like rot. Old-timers recalled the legends. The mine wasn't just a pit, it was a gateway. The indigenous tribes had called it the Mouth of Regrets, a place where the earth's hunger fed on human failings. The collapse? Not accident, but retribution for greed that poisoned rivers and souls alike. Miners had cut corners, ignored warnings, and the ground had claimed its due. Alara pressed on, driven by a compulsion she couldn't name. Deeper into the shafts, she found carvings, crude etchings of figures writhing in torment, symbols that twisted her gut. The slime grew thicker, forming tendrils that retracted at her touch. Silas quit, fleeing town with wild eyes. Alone now, Alara descended further, her equipment humming with readings off the charts. Seismic activity where none should be. Electromagnetic pulses like neural firings. On the third night, the storm hit. Thunder cracked like whips, rain turning roads to mudslides. Power failed, blanketing the town in inky black. Alara, trapped in her cabin, heard it first, a low rumble, not from the sky, but below. The floor vibrated, and then the voices, whispers slithering through cracks, recounting her sins in excruciating detail. "You abandoned her," they hissed, images of her daughter flashing, tiny hands reaching as Alara chose the bottle over bedtime stories. "You let him hit you?" Then blamed her tears. She barricaded the door, but the voices seeped in. Outside, shadows moved, elongated forms that weren't human. Screams echoed from the town. Harlan found dangling from his rafters a confession carved into his chest. "I sabotaged the supports for extra pay." Reyes, gutted in her squad car, badge pinned to a note, ignored the bribes, but not the bodies. Panic gripped Hollow's End. Neighbours turned on each other, old grudges erupting into violence. A mob formed at the church, preacher railing against the demon below. But Alara knew it wasn't demonic. It was them. The slime, the entity, was a fungal network, ancient and sentient, awakened by the collapse. It fed not on flesh, but on guilt, amplifying regrets into hallucinations that drove victims to self-destruction. Her samples confirmed it. Spores that induced psychosis, tailored to each mind's darkness. Armed with this, Alara returned to the mine, flares and fungicide in hand. The chamber had transformed, walls alive with writhing masses, faces emerging like bas-reliefs, the lost miners, their eyes pleading. "Join us," they chorused, her ex-husband's voice mingling, accusing her of failure. Her daughter's sobs echoed, "Why didn't you fight for me?" Alara sprayed the fungicide, the entity shrieking as tendrils blackened and crumbled. But it fought back, spores invading her lungs, visions assaulting, reliving every mistake, every night she chose numbness over love. She staggered, knife in hand, her own now, poised at her throat. "End it," the voices urged. With a roar, she hurled a flare into the core, igniting methane pockets. Explosions rippled, collapsing tunnels in a cascade of rock and regret. She clawed her way out as the earth trembled, emerging into dawn's light, coughing spores and tears. Hollow's End survived, scarred. The mine sealed forever, the entity dormant, but not dead. Alara left, reuniting with her daughter, vowing to atone. Yet in quiet moments, when rain falls heavy, she hears the echoes. The powerful truth. Our sins don't die. They wait in the dark, hungry for release.